In. Yeah, it's time. And I grabbed my cup and I drank it up and I left it at my desk. I don't really have a desk, I have a workstation. So come on in, folks. Come on in. All my barats get left in here: gold, silver, brown, and brown. Come on in. How is your day? You working hard? Or been putting off stuff? Procrastinating like we usually do. Well, come on in. I thought I'd take that last question we had this morning. Let me see if I can find it. I know it's here. And it was several questions in one, so we're going to get a twofer today. Twofer today for question and answer day. I was reminded this morning, I was watching a video by Victor Marx, and he was doing his little talk, and he was talking about how his dog Scout had that he sleeps well at night. He has 3 dogs, and that Scout had saved his life a time or two. And I remember having a dog that saved mine. Critters are just amazing. And I watched something else, Kim Clement, and there was a video about a young girl walking down the street, not a teenager, going home, and a van pulled over and tried to kidnap her. And there was a dog that came out of nowhere. I mean, nowhere. On a video camera, seeing this dog come out of nowhere and start barking at this van and the door getting opened. And that dog saved that young lady's life. So critters have a cool instinct when it comes to danger. And the dog that I had was named Ranger. And Justin and I had picked him up at a pound. He was a rescue dog. And I went and opened the fly shop one morning, fishing shop, real early, and was making some biscuits and some different things, and just to have something for the fishermen to eat. I don't even think we charged for them. I was living down in Alabama, and all of a sudden the door opened, and we were open for business, and it was like 5:30 in the morning, and this man came in. I don't remember what he looked like. I wasn't paying attention. What I did pay attention to was my dog. And Ranger would come and sleep with me at the house, and his tail was beating the floor every time somebody came in. He knew he was going to get a treat because he was the fly shop dog. Just he loved everybody. And that precious dog, every hair stood up on the back of his neck. I mean, every hair. And he got this look in his eye, and he knew this man was up to no good. And I looked at that man and I said, I don't know what you're planning on doing, but that dog is going to take your throat out. He's never done that before, and he is going to take your throat out. And you know what? That man hit the door fast because he knew what he was planning on doing. He hit the door. I mean, I would have given him food. I would have done anything. But he was up to no good. And that dog knew it. And Ranger hit the door right behind him. And he stayed between between the front door and the road where the guy was hitchhiking. Between the front door and the road. And he would he would turn and walk back the other way. The dog would walk back the other way. He kept that man at bay. And critters know. Critters know. Joanne said her dog gave her the Heimlich maneuver once. Dogs know. So anytime you can do something to help one of God's little creatures, do it. Do it. Love on them. So here's the next question. We got a few people in here. Let's see. What is Trudy is her name. And her question is, meal planning is truly my Achilles heel. Well, if you say it is, it is. It's because of your perfectionism. I'm so really glad this November month long focus, that this is the November month long focus. I really appreciate this email where Fly Lady breaks down the steps, how she plans her pot roast dinner. I have a crock pot. Love the convenience, but find the result is often bland tasting. Well, your crock pot meals are only as good as the sauce you make. And so for pasta sauces and stuff, you got to start with a good pasta sauce. Unless you're going to make it from scratch. But I make a pot roast, and a pot roast is in my How to Cook series. And your pot roast is only as good as the gravy you put over it. So I like to use something called Better Than Bouillon, and it is a paste that you put in your gravy. Now I could make gravy without it. I have no doubt that I could do that because I have. I didn't even know this was a thing 10 years ago. But you put a teaspoon of it. They have Better Than Bouillon chicken. They have Better Than Bouillon roast beef, roast vegetables. They have Better Than Bouillon lobster. They have Better Than Bouillon pork. They have it in every flavor. And it will help you make the gravy. And it gives you a good gravy. If you don't have it, you can use a can of beef broth or French onion soup or different kinds of soups will give it flavor. Mainly what it does is give it salt. Bland, not having a salt flavor in your gravy makes things bland. So I cook the pot roast, and you got to brown the pot roast. You got to sear it on one side and on the other side. Stick it in your crock pot. Then take that skillet and start making the gravy from those drippings. And it really works well. And I plan for leftovers. Robert's not used to having leftovers. And so it's hard for him to pick out a nice big chuck roast so that I can have leftovers for a pot of soup or roast beef and gravy, or just roast beef. Not just roast beef, but beef stew. Have enough leftovers. You cut up the carrots and potatoes, and you got beef stew, hearty beef stew. The next question she has is, does she have a recipe for surprise chicken? It's clean out to your refrigerator. If you got some little condiments, I've got a bunch of condiments right now of a sweet and sour sauce that comes from Arby's, I think it is. And I could open all those up, throw some chicken in there. I probably got some little ketchup packets, and I would have a sweet and sour chicken. But I have had a jerk chicken because I had this much sauce in the bottom of a jerked sauce container. It's surprise chicken for a recipe. Your perfectionism is getting in the way. It it's just clean out your refrigerator, those little bitty packets of things. Put it in your crock pot with some chicken thighs or chicken breast, and you're good to go. Now you might want to cut it up, or you might want to put them in there whole and shred them later. I don't care what you do, but it's surprise chicken for a reason. Does she have other posts where she breaks down meal planning? All you got to do is look up meal planning on our website and you will get a bunch of links. November is our month for doing this. And yeah, we have lots of posts on how to menu plan. And they're fun things like taking it from an aspect of, is it going to be Chinese, Mexican, American, Italian? You know, what are your favorite ethnic groups? I don't cook any Middle Eastern or Mediterranean anything. Well, I have made grape leaves. Uh, but or maybe you do a beef, a chicken, a pork, no meat. You pick one day that's for pizza because everybody loves pizza. You maybe pick one day that's leftovers, every man for themselves, and you have a soup and sandwich day. And then you got 4 days to mix it up. I've asked my family members what their favorite dishes are. And so we have a list of dinners I can make for 2 weeks. We'll break that down, divide it up into 4 weeks. And then you'll have a favorite meal of somebody twice a week. And then factor in a pasta. Maybe you have a pasta dish, you have a casserole, a soup. You see, it's all about having a basic weekly plan to your meals. I'm wondering how Fly Lady cooks the meals. Does she cook every day? Batch cooking. I don't know what batch cooking is. I don't cook a lot of things at one time. It's one meal at a time, but I plan for leftovers with that meal. And I always keep a box, an old ice cream container that I put little smidges of stuff, leftovers, into that ice cream Tupperware container. And that becomes my soup. So little bits of gravy, little bits of this, that, and the other thing, and it goes in that, and I turn it into soup. If you want a soup that's made with leftover mashed potatoes and cut up a potato and grate a potato and put some butter and some bacon and some onion in it, you got a nice hearty potato soup. And you cook it with some chicken broth, and then right before you serve it, you put some cream in it, and you've got a hearty potato soup. Grated potatoes in a pan of water when you're sick, like with a stomach bug, that starch really gives you some energy. And one year, for the month of November, I cooked every day. Robert says it's better to have a wife that can cook and doesn't cook often than one that can't cook and cooks every day. So I can cook, but I cook a couple of times a week, and then we choose takeout, or just maybe we don't eat one night. We fast one night. I don't do batch cooking. Whatever that is. I don't cook a lot of things at one time. And I don't prep a lot of things at one time. What time does she start cooking to get dinner ready? I like to start planning for a meal around 10 o'clock in the morning, knowing what's for dinner. That's half the battle. And then I can start cooking. If I'm going to cook in the crock pot, I try to get it in the morning before the show. Get the crock pot going. that I can cook on low. I don't like to cook on high. How does she organize her shopping list? If she's covered these topics already, please kindly let me know the links. I don't organize a shopping list. My husband does that. He goes to the grocery store for me. But when I went to the grocery store, I would organize my grocery list according to where it was on my route through the grocery store. I would start in the produce and I would pick up potatoes. And in our control journal, we have things sort of listed in categories like produce, meats, um, canned goods, breads, frozen food, and dairy are the last two sections. And if not, could she address these questions in her upcoming meal planning emails? Well, at the 1st of November, you can look in our musings and in our Ask Fly Lady questions, maybe the end of October and the for the last week in October and the first week in November. I shared all of these things and they are on our website. So you see, I have touched on this a lot, and every Tuesday we touch on it because that's our meal planning day. So don't get hung up in your perfectionism, thinking you don't know how to do something, because you do. You really do. Somebody said, I put frozen chicken thighs in a crock pot to make cranberry chicken and rice. Wow, that sounds good. Jennifer made Chinese last night and it was really good. All you need is some soy sauce and some cornstarch. Well, my hair's clean. When my hair's clean, it does look much better. Wednesday night is wash your hair night. And I parted it different last night when I went to bed, so it's poofy right here. But you can turn anything into chicken. Just you can make chicken can be Mexican, chicken can be my daughter-in-law makes chicken and she puts it in the crock pot. Then she takes her mixer and she just goes around this cooked chicken and it becomes shredded chicken. And she can do lots of things with that. Justin, he will cook a bunch of chicken out on the grill and he will have it for all during the week. He can do lots of things with it. So plan for leftovers. Plan for them. And if you have leftovers that you hadn't made plans for, put it in this milk. It was an ice cream box and start saving those little smidgens of leftovers to make a pot of soup. Because to make a pot of soup, you just need some gravy or a can of soup to start it out with and just start throwing leftovers in there. Maybe you got this much in a bag of frozen vegetables. I'm reading some of your comments. I'm going to make GF chicken pot pie. I made a pot pie on Saturday night. I made so much that Robert took 2/3 of it to our neighbors. Just a beautiful. It was. It wasn't anything special. I had put a little bit too much of the chicken bouillon stuff in there, better than bouillon, and it was a little bit on the salty side. But you know what? It's good. If I can cook chicken and rice in the same, I'm wondering in the same Instapot. Rice is I don't know about rice in an Instant Pot. I don't know how to do that, but rice is easy to make. And if you don't know how to make rice, it's on the package. And 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice yields 3 cups of rice. It's a 2 to 1. So if you've got a cup and a half of rice, you're going to put in 3 cups of water. Some people make rice ahead of time and put it in their refrigerator so that they have rice for casseroles, or they have rice to make stir-fried rice on their griddle or in their skillet. You know, to put together a casserole, you need cheese. Cheese lets it hang all together. And I've seen some great, like, lasagna recipes that have lasagna made with ramen noodles. So you just turn things, you can't be afraid, and get you one of those red checkered cookbooks. If you're at the junk store, see if you can find a red checkered cookbook. I think it's a Betty Crocker cookbook. It's a great cookbook. That's where I learned to cook. So, folks, don't be afraid to take some leftovers, even without a recipe, and put them in a crock pot and just start stirring them together. And if all else fails, throw some cheese in it, and you got a chowder of some kind. Anyway, folks, I love you all. Let's get to cooking. Gonna save some money, and the good Lord knows we need to. Chicken rotel, diced peppers, cream of chicken, cream of mushroom soup, spices, cheese. Chicken pot pie. It's just comfort food, y'all. What are your favorite comfort foods? Mine's macaroni and cheese, chicken pot pie. What did we have the other night that was so good? And there's a lot of people that do Depression era cooking on YouTube. There's one lady, oh, she was precious, just precious. And Corey Blake, he films his grandmother cooking all the time. And she is a Depression era cook, even though I don't think she's as old as I am. But she cooks. She made this chicken and dressing, or turkey and dressing the other day for church. And she used a loaf and a half of plain old white bread, light bread, and just tore it up into the chicken broth, added the chicken broth was cooled off, and she added some vegetables to it and onion, and she turned it into dressing. You can cook. You really can. It doesn't have to be pre-made and already packaged up. You can cook with raw ingredients. Carolyn's making leftover ground duck chili and frozen salsa. Put in the crock pot with some Jiffy cornbread mix. Ooh, that sounds good. You can take a pot of pinto beans and turn that into something. You can turn it into refried beans. I've taken pinto beans and mashed them up and made little balls out of them. Made little balls out of them and deep fried them. It doesn't hurt to practice these skills, y'all, of making something out of nothing. And you might find your family. I remember watching The Walking Dead, and they didn't have a whole lot of food, but they had a storehouse and they had some canned goods, and some of the canned goods didn't have any labels on them, so you didn't know what it was until you opened it up. But Carol could turn those things into a casserole. And sometimes they called it cobbler, just some kind of cobbler they'd make. What's the Cajun people call the Trinity? Celery, carrots, and onion. You just you it's filler. It gives it flavor. The other day I watched somebody cut the top off a garlic bulb, drizzle it with olive oil, put it in some aluminum foil, and bake it while something else was baking in the oven, and turned it into this wonderful garlic paste, and put it in butter and made garlic bread out of it. Get your bread machine out and just start with a basic recipe. But don't be cooking anything that's new on Thanksgiving. Keep with your tried and true recipes. Mashed potatoes. Now you could put that roasted garlic in your mashed potatoes with a little chicken broth. Woo wee, and mashed potatoes. That would be lovely. Anyway, the trinity is onion, celery, and green peppers. That's right. I've seen people add carrots to it too. Okay, folks, let's get some stuff done. We got a week away from Thanksgiving. My bathroom has been detailed cleaned this week, not all at one time, but it's looking fantastic, and I'm very pleased with it. So, folks, we can do this. We really can. You just have to be willing to jump in and do it. Joanne says they have pasta with meatballs. Lovely. I knew somebody one time, his family would make raviolis for Christmas. It was a family tradition. So, y'all enjoy the process. Make memories with the family. Get them in the kitchen with you. When the kitchen's clean, you don't mind somebody coming in there and helping you cook. When it's messy, you're embarrassed, so you don't let anybody in the kitchen. Nothing says I love you like dinner in the crock pot, in the bread machine, in your Instapot. And look up some Instapot recipes. I grew up learning to cook with a pressure cooker. I love you all. Be good, kind, and sweet. Be good to yourself by planning meals, planning your grocery list. Be kind to others by having a meal and inviting somebody over. Y'all, we can do this. In Mexico, it's tamales for Christmas. I used to have a man and his wife who helped with my yard and gardening, and they lived up in Balsam Grove where I moved to when I first moved to Transylvania County. And Reuben, he was a pastor, and they would make tamales and bring them to us, and they were amazing, amazing. I wouldn't even know where to start. Well, I think my sweet darling's home. I will talk to you later. Bye. See you tomorrow.